The Gospel according to Matthew, chapter 28, starting from verse 19 and 20. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. And behold, I am with you always to the end of the ages. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
This morning, we would like to dedicate this time based on this wonderful scripture that Jesus Christ has given not only to his disciples, but all the churches back in 2,000 years ago and until now and until his coming again. And his word and departure, and along with the coming of the Holy Spirit shortly after, really sparked a new era in the world history, where Christ follow would spread the love of God, often in word, but more in actions and services, to the end of the earth. Henry Martin, a revered Christian, said this: the Spirit of Christ is the spirit of missions. The nearer we get to him, the more intensely missionary we become. So to love Christ is to be, in some extent, that we become missionary. First, to our families, and our extended families, and our neighbors, and hoping to reach to the end of the earth. John Stott, he said this about mission: we must be global Christians with a global vision, because our God is God of the whole world. God is not God of some people, but we truly believe that God is God of all people. And that's what we represent in our church. On behalf of Christ's Great Commission, and with your prayers and support, our mission team departed this place somewhat as strangers, but we can tell you that with the assurance that we return as a friend of people in Puerto Rico. It was a privilege and honor for us to be able to sweat. Recently, I haven't engaged myself in that intensity of daily labors from morning till the late afternoon. And I can tell you this: whatever they've given us and prepared the wonderful lunch and dinner, they were delicious. Yeah. Very, very delicious. So this morning, we would like to take this time to share the stories of our mission teams, along with we prepare for some slideshows. So as you listen to each stories, please also look at the slide, however it is better fit for you. And I would like to invite Kathy Murston, who serves as a chairperson for Mission Committee this year for our church, to share her stories. And followed by Kathy, we will have John, and I guess Mary is not here today, so we'll have Dave accordingly. Tim Chu gave me a call early this morning that he has a passing of one of his grandparents, so he won't be able to make it this morning. So please keep him in your prayer.
Good morning. Our mission trip to Puerto Rico was a fulfilling experience for us all, and a chance for us to grow together as members of this loving congregation. We arrived at La Casona with low expectations of our accommodations, only to be pleasantly surprised. They were sparse, but clean and quite comfortable. The The fridge was stocked with breakfast and snack items that we could raid at any time. Lunch was brought to our work site, and dinner was served back at La Casona, lovingly prepared by members of the host congregation. La Casona is located in San Therese, which is suburban San Juan. That's where we stayed. But our work site was the First Presbyterian Church in Bayamon, which is about a 25-minute ride from where we were staying. Our efforts during the week were coordinated by Presbyterian Disaster Assistance. Our church has been a strong supporter of PDA through 1 great hour of sharing and through specific collections for PDA after the many disasters that our world has suffered. This year, we are matching our crop walk collection and giving that to PDA, and I'm proud to do it, especially after seeing PDA in action in Puerto Rico. PDA has been working with local churches in Puerto Rico to rebuild the sources of first response after a disaster, which typically are the churches. So we worked on the church in Bayamon to clean up and repaint their large assembly room, used as a community center, and church school classrooms. We also helped forward 2 mission projects they have going. The first is a laundry ministry. They provide free laundry service to the community, beginning after the hurricane and continuing on through now, and they plan to continue in the future. In there, the ceiling had a lot of damage, and the floor tile needed tearing up in preparation for new tile to be laid. There was another space across the street that they planned to use as a model home for self-sustaining solar power. We had to fix a drainage issue that was happening on the roof there, and there was, because of the water damage, there was a lot of growth on the side of the church, on the side of the building, that had to be scraped and cleaned and repainted. And this space will be used to charge cell phones in the event of another disaster, and as a first-hand display to encourage others to add solar panels to their homes to help improve the power grid, which is very shaky in Puerto Rico. Thank you to all who gave gift cards and funds for this effort. We went down with $350 in Home Depot gift cards. Well, we used just about 300 of that to buy much-needed supplies for our work down there. We didn't have enough of many things that whoever was planning didn't realize how much we were going to need, and so we made several trips to Home Depot during the week using those $300, so thank you. We left the remaining $50 with La Casona to help replenish their stock of paintbrushes and drop cloths, etc., which we had used up. I worked all week painting, along with Mary and Jane, and later Liza and Lacey. The men painted also, but they sometimes went across the street to those other job sites, the laundry and the solar power. Mary, Jane, and I were dedicated painters all week. We painted the large room with a ceiling height such that we had to work hard to reach the ceiling with our rollers mounted on broomsticks. I assume there's some photos in there of that, of us reaching up to try to get that. It was very tiring work. It took us, along with the men, all morning to paint that first ceiling. We went to lunch for a well-deserved break, some neck circles to ease the cramping, and perhaps some arm stretches, and to allow the paint to dry. After lunch, Dave and I looked at the ceiling and dejectedly realized that a second coat was needed. Mary came in and asked me, "Do we need to paint the ceiling all over again?" And I just nodded, yes. And she had a brief moment of looking exactly the way I felt. And then she squared her shoulders and said, "Then let's get started." That one sentence just inspired me to begin it all again, tired muscles and all. And I thank Mary for her strength in that moment because it was inspirational to me. I enjoyed getting to know my fellow missionaries on a deeper level, like really connecting with them. The big heart that we all feel in this church was so evident all around us that week. And I feel a closer tie to this congregation because of it. I also feel a closer tie to the wider Presbyterian church. The 2 churches in Puerto Rico each spoke about their presbyteries and some struggles that they had gone through, their trips to Louisville, the General Assembly, and Presbyterian women. People in a different culture, but experiencing church in a very familiar way. The deepest connection I felt to the wider church was through working with Presbyterian Disaster Assistance, who dedicates 99 cents of every dollar given to the relief effort. Being part of the PDA effort in Puerto Rico, I saw our dollars in action, feeling the expanse of the Presbyterian church in the world, and seeing that churches really are relevant and a force for good in this upended world. My experience in Puerto Rico enriched relationships within my own family. My husband and son unplugged from their jobs and working side by side. It deepened my friendships within this church, deepened my sense of the Puerto Rican people and their culture, and made me feel a part of a larger church trying to make the world a better place for us all. I'm so fortunate to have had this opportunity. Thank you all for your help in getting us there, and a special thank you to Lila and Jim.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. First and foremost, I'd like to express my gratitude for the opportunity to share my testimony with everyone. I personally have been to several mission and outreach programs to places such as Bolivia, Tanzania in Africa, and Canada, and in China, staying anywhere from 1 to 5 weeks in these places. Despite having been on several missions, my most recent trip to Puerto Rico was able to provide me with a whole new experience that was different than my mission or outreach program that I have been a part of before. I would like to share with you this trip was different from my previous one and how I was able to feel God's love during our stay in Puerto Rico. As previously mentioned by Kathy, the objective of this trip was to aid in the recovery effort of the Bayamon Presbyterian Church in light of the hurricane that devastated the country. In our time rebuilding, I was moved by our mission team. Every day in the blistering heat, as sweat streamed from our bodies, I was humbled and in awe of our team's ability to work on rebuilding as if it was their very own home they were working on, putting in the utmost care even to the most minor detail. Additionally, the team's desire to help out and put each other in their need before themselves and extend impact to those who may as well be strangers, despite the already slow condition and workload left me humbled. Secondly, in my experience, mission within previous mission trip with Korean Community Church emphasized daily worship and praise. This mission trip, however, was a little different. I would consider this trip more interactive. It focused less on the traditional praise and worship I was used to, and interest focused on ways to almost directly help the community we were trying to reach. We might have all had different expectations and thoughts about this mission trip, but I truly felt that our mission team was one team. Even though the duration of the trip was only a week, the week of worship in which we were able to share in the the love of each other. And I'm thankful to have experienced such a previous intimacy, even though only for a short while. Even though our primary effort was in rebuilding Bayamon Presbyterian Church, I truly felt our team be spiritually horrified as well. This in turn made me realize the importance of the mission team acting as one team. Due to the devastating hurricane, a church with 400 members was destroyed, and only a large community of 400 was reduced to a mere 40. I wondered on my flight back home what Jesus would think upon looking at church in which his members had scattered. Would he be disappointed, sorrowful, or angry? A Christian to me is someone who responds to Jesus' calling. On my return, I reflected on the fact that this mission trip not only reinforced my benefit, this only reinforced my belief in death, but inspired me to be a better Christian by my own definition. I'd like to thank who extended their help in this mission trip: Kathy, Jeff, Mark, Dave, Mary, and Tim and his group, and also Jane. I'd like to express love and gratitude those who have prayed and supported us here from home. You all have truly made this mission trip personally unique one, and I am blessed to have shared it with you, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Finally, I want to thank Dave and feel sorry for him, because I woke up Dave's sleep early in the morning at 5 o'clock in the morning with my wake-up alarm. Thank you.
On the other hand, it's good to wake up at 5 a.m. and realize you have nothing to do but go back to sleep. Of course, the second alarm at 5:15 is a little late.
And then the roosters.
Yes, the rooster next door chimed in. You know, when I was a kid, my mother continually told me when I was unhappy about something, count your blessings. It took a lot of years, perhaps, to realize just how many blessings I really do have. Most of them not earned, but inherited. And part of that is but by the grace of God, you know, there go I, which could be in a third world country with no opportunity and no economic stake and just the struggle to survive. So as I've matured and understood that a little better, I see my obligation to give back in every way I can. And I think I learned through this church and some of the things that we've done in this church, like the Habitat builds over the years, that there are two ways, you know, to help. Certainly, all of these projects require money for support, but when you involve yourself directly, it adds a whole new dimension of the project, as opposed to the money, which really doesn't provide a connection with the end product. So, you know, the opportunity to do the mission trip, I certainly jumped on it because I could see that that would be exactly in this category. And so it really does help to see the results of your work imminently and understand how you're helping people. And perhaps the aspect of this that I didn't see so well coming in was, as the others have alluded to, the fellowship that we built as a group working together for common goals and doing all of this. And you know, people that in church you know from coffee hour, you think you know them, but certainly, you know, John and Jane, who I haven't said a lot to, you know, coffee hour over the years, we all became very fast friends as a result of this whole thing. So there are huge personal gains to me from doing this. But having an impact is perhaps the biggest part of the whole thing. And I'll take with that, take with me for a long time the memories of what was accomplished on this trip and all of the things that we're able to do. And somebody in the church, I think down there, pointed out to us early on that in the aftermath of the hurricane, the disaster relief was slow in coming, and it was the churches that became the conduit for relief, for supplying water and supplying food. And in particular, the church that we worked on created a laundry in the building across the street so that people could come and do their wash for free. They supply detergents, they supply everything for them, washers and dryers over there. So it's really an amazing example of how Presbyterian disaster assistance is working and how the church has worked through this. So it really is quite a good thing. And it was my pleasure in that I have had a lot of experience in Puerto Rico. I worked a project outside of San Juan back in the 80s. And of course, I'm married to Ms. Diane Perez. And it was family, of course, of the West End. So we've been to Puerto Rico many, many times. So I was able to guide the group through some of the culinary experiences that we had, and even introduce them to a relatively good secret on the island called mofongo. And at the same time, one of the meals that was cooked for us was something out of the Dominican Republic called mango, which is likewise a plantain creation kind of thing. So we learned plenty about all these kinds of things, and places and food. And so the trip was a combination of doing a great thing to help people and building relationships within ourselves. And I can tell you I came out of it spiritually much stronger and feeling really great about the whole thing. It was a great thing to do.
Just listening through your stories, it just reignites the feeling of gratitude and also passion for continue to go on with this effort. Because I think this is one of our very distinctive traits of what makes PCIN unique in our own way. I have known many of you ever since I served this church. But being together in 1 week, doing the same thing over and over again, eating meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it really opens up a new dimensions of getting to know people. And Dave, he really took care of all the areas of the corner, not only because of he's tall, but just imagine, entire week, he just trimmed every corner where the ceiling and walls met, and patiently. And that was a huge new discovery for me. And we share the same room. And I hope that I didn't bother you too much, Dave, with my snoring and other things. But we become good buddies.
You had no alarm set. It was good.
Yes. And Kathy and Jane, just how the way that they coordinate and take on this project. You probably remember seeing one sheet of slide there, right, with all the little columns and everything. That is name of all of us assigned by numbers. So Dave and I think we are number 3 and 4, right? Volunteer worker 3 and 4. And each person has assigned with a project by the end of the week. And it was not a small amount of project, but we have completed. And so I'm really thankful and how exciting it was to really getting to know Chad and Mark and sharing and being together. And John, I learned that he is really a high-tech geek guy. He's a geek squad of our church in a way. And we have Frank. But he really helped a lot of things navigating, and except one point that we end up another La Casona, Monte Flores, instead of our own place. So, I just would like to encourage you to seriously consider whether as a volunteer or whether as like you did, supporting mission team in your prayer and support. So I think in that respect, we are missionary all together as one. Some of us went, and some of you also participate with your heart and in prayer and spiritually. So we thank you, and we hope to certainly continue this wonderful tradition in many years to come.